Palace Cinema back. Another dish. How we doing out there? Good, great, grand, and wonderful. Let's hit the ground running. So, as you see on your dial, Possessor. What is Possessor? Possessor is an arresting sci-fi thriller about elite corporate assassin Taja Voss. Using her brain implant technology, Voss takes control of other people's bodies to execute high-profile targets. As she sinks deeper into her latest assignment, Voss becomes trapped inside a mind that threatens to obliterate her. Now that's Wellgo USA's press release of it. I think it's so much more than that. I really do. I almost feel like you read that and you're almost getting ready for an action thriller of sorts, and I disagree. I feel there's more science and philosophy, and obviously, you know, I can't stand doing this fucking show, but if there's a movie that comes out that I absolutely enjoy and I can have a interesting conversation with someone about said film, well, I'm going to do it, so here we are. Possessor stars Andrea Riseborough, Christopher Abbott, Jennifer Jason Leigh. Oh, she was that devious Jennifer Jason Leigh, with also Sean Bean. Possessor was written and directed by Brandon Cronenberg, and wouldn't you know it, audience, I was able to get him on to discuss with us today Possessor, which, like I said, one of my favorites of the year. Brandon Cronenberg. Mr. Cronenberg, how are you, sir?
I am great, thanks. That's very kind of you, and thanks for having me on.
I think I told you before we started to roll the show here. If you listen to the show, I'll tell you if you wasted my time, and this was no waste of time. So, and I'm fascinated, sir. The genesis of Possessor, where did it stem from? Was this kind of something that you've been building at for years and years and years? Is it something that you just quickly thought of and was like, boom, let's get this done? Tell me. I'm fascinated.
Well, I actually started to work on it 8 years ago. I'd had directed my first feature, Antiviral, and I was doing the press tour for it. And when you travel with a film for the first time, it's a very weird thing because you're kind of constructing a public persona, you know, consciously or unconsciously. You're doing these interviews and you're performing this weird other version of yourself that then goes off and has its own life without you online. And so because of that and a few other reasons, I was sort of waking up in the mornings and feeling I was sitting up into someone else's life and scrambling to construct some kind of character who could operate in that context. I wanted to make a film about someone who may or may not be an imposter in their own life. That was in 2012, and it took a very long time to get the film made. I mean, some of that was me writing. I didn't have a career when I started out, so when I made Antiviral, that was my first film. I wasn't really a filmmaker then, so I didn't have other things in development. But also, we just ran into the usual kind of indie problems, getting financing together and that kind of thing.
That's actually quite shocking to me because this film looks like it's $30 million, $40 million. Like, it doesn't look like it's a small budget at all. In fact, I would go as far to say one of my favorite aspects of the film is the atmosphere that you created with the set design, which is now admittedly, Brandon, I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but I've now seen Possessor 3 times, start to finish. I should be doing something else with my time. It was great, but that's 3 times in 3 days. That seems a little much. However,
I think that's exactly what you should be doing. I'm thrilled.
And so when you say that, like, trying to get the budget together, like, it's kind of shocking to me because what you pulled off in this film is nothing short of, I don't know, making a film in general. It's just a miracle to begin with. You get the cast, that's a miracle. You get the finances, all of it's a miracle. But, like, the fact that you were able to create the atmosphere that you did for what sounds like a relatively small budget, sir. My hat's off to you.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I think to a certain degree, probably the long development time helped. I was also working with some pretty close collaborators, and Kareem Hussein, my cinematographer, and I, after Antiviral, became very close friends, and worked developing the visuals for quite a long time. And Rob Cotterill, one of my creative producers and first AD, and Dan Martin, the effects artist, we all had a very long time to kind of build this stuff up. So once we finally got to shoot, it was a fairly fast process. We were really organized because we'd spent so many years kind of chomping at the bit to get to it,
So to that point, was that the atmosphere that I was speaking of, or at least, like, I don't know why I was so drawn to, well, I mean, the cinematography was spot on. Was that Kareem? Is that how you say his name? Is that who did your cinematography? Yeah, Kareem, just out of the fucking park, man. Just like some of the stuff that especially the merging of the wills. I don't like to spoil too much on the show at all, really. But between the cinematographer and the editor being on point, like, it just creates this. But let's go back a little bit. When you were talking about creating this and having the time to create it, was this all your vision? Like the set design and the atmosphere that I was talking about, was this all your vision, or was this something, like you said, 8 years of kicking around with them, or was it like they needed 8 years to give you your vision, which is so original and fresh, I might say, sir. It's like a Takashi Miike type vision where it's so distinct. And did that take 8 years in collaboration, or is that just you?
Well, that's very kind of you. It's my approach to it is to come in with a particularly clear idea of what I want, but then leave room to collaborate with people. So all of the Kareem, Rob, Matt Hanna, my editor. I mean, all of these people were very much involved in that process of developing it with me. So it's film is a very collaborative art form. No matter how clear a sense of the film the director has going into it, you're always working with other people, and I have this kind of fortunately close film family, and I really like to work with them all throughout the process. So their fingerprints are definitely on it as well.
How fast did you guys do this shoot?
I forget. I think it was. It's all kind of a blur now. I think it was 23 days once we got shooting around that. That blows my mind. Now, obviously, there wasn't too many locations that you had to do, but still, 23 days to be able to put this together. You want to be filmmakers that I know that listen to this show. You got to come correct. You got to come prepared, because I stress this on my show all the time, because we have a lot of wannabe filmmakers that listen to the show, how essential pre-production is into making things go swimmingly. Speaking of swimmingly, I have to know, was there any pushback by the actors or actresses or even the crew with some of the subject matter, or are we all adults here and I'm just living in a 2020 world? No, I mean, the thing is, by the time you're working with these people, they're the right people. I mean, you can. If someone doesn't want to do it because they don't like the horror, and some people don't. I mean, some people aren't up for a horror film. Some people don't like science fiction. I mean, there are any number of reasons that an actor, for instance, might not have an interest in your film because it's just not what they do. Whether it's this kind of horror thing or not. They just won't do it. So, but when you're there shooting with the actors, I like to be very upfront about how it's going to work, and they've all read the script, and so there aren't any surprises. At that point, you have people who know what's going to happen, and they're on your side.
Did you step in for Christopher Abbott, and give him kind of a clear-cut vision of when he is having? How do I not spoil? And his out-of-body experience, I guess, would be, and he's essentially playing two characters. Was that all Christopher making it his own, or is that you stepping in and saying, this is kind of the things that I would like to see when you're executing this?
Again, it's really collaborative. I mean, in a scene-by-scene way, that it was always a discussion, which of those characters is in control here, or is it sort of, it wasn't just, binary. Is it a mix of the two of them? Are we deliberately obscuring who's in control? Is it kind of leaning more towards the other, so one or the other? So, that was something that we worked out together as we were shooting, and then also to a degree with Matt Hannum, again my editor. That balance was tweaked again in the edit as we were shifting the structure of it and kind of refining those moments.
Was it collaborative when you guys all sat down and said, well, Sean Bean needs to die, so we need to have someone, an old rich man die. We need to have Sean Bean get fucked up, which then you throw a curveball and he doesn't die. But I just thought it was funny because Sean Bean it dies in everything, and what happens to him? You'd have thought that he's not coming back from that one.
Well, Sean Bean. I'll say Sean Bean has a very good sense of humor about his reputation. I'll leave it at that.
I as soon as, and I'll keep it light, but as soon as I saw that scene, and I was like, well, God damn it, Brandon, you just said, fuck it. You're going to have to die. And then, like I said, the curveball happens, which, I showed on my third watching, I had shown that to my father, and he's like, well, wait a minute, he lived? And I'm like, yeah, he lived. And then at the end, he goes, I guess Brandon doesn't like being married. And I was like, that's what you fucking got out of that? That was your pull out of that? It is so much more. Get out of here. Get the fuck out of my house.
That's great, except you can tell him I'm not married, so, that goes right out the window.
And I'm sitting there going, I was blown away that's what he took away from that. Because, to me, I'm struggling with, man, we're getting close to where the brain implants are coming in, and we're not going to have free reign control anymore. It's not, and he's worried about marriage, fucking marriage.
Well, it's one of the things I really love about hearing people's reactions to films is that you can't predict how people are going to take it, and some people come up with fantastic interpretations that are incredible, and I wish I had thought of them. I want to steal them, but they're nothing like what I was intending. It's just audience creativity. It's so subjective, and that part of the art is really fascinating to me.
It really is too. It really is fucking subjective. Couple more. Just how are you? Let's deviate from Possessor for just a brief moment. How are you during all this crazy pandemic shit? Are you thriving? Because some of us artists, some of us writers, that I don't mind what's been going on. I mean, of course, I would like to go out every now and then, but it's given me a whole lot of time to write without excuses. I tell you that.
Well, I feel really lucky because Possessor, we finished it at the end of 2019, right at the end. And then it premiered at Sundance, which was sort of the last major festival to run normally before the pandemic shut everything down. So I know people whose films got shut down mid-production, whose shows got shut down mid-production. I don't know. I mean, I'm in Canada, so we've had a different kind of curve and arc than in the States. But definitely all film and television production was shut down at a certain point and is kind of creeping back up. So, I got lucky with the timing because it didn't destroy something in progress, and so I have been able to work from home.
So I guess to that point, how do you feel about, I mean, not only your film, but films in general, kind of, I mean, look, if you're in the film game, you saw the writing on the wall a long time ago, but for you in a film like this, and especially